Yes. No.
Wololo.
Ok, thưa bây giờ.
ពាក្យបញ្ជី
Ok, ok, ok. អ្នកសាងសង់
អ្នកសាងសង់បាទ
ពាក្យបញ្ជា ត្រៀមរួចប្រមូលចា
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់អ្នកសាងសង់ស៊ូស្ពេអ្នកប្រមូលបាទ ត្រៀមរួចរាល់អ្នកសាងសង់អ្នកកាប់ពាក្យបញ្ជា
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់
បាទខ្ញុំនឹង
ត្រឹមត្រូវប្រមូល
បាទភ្លេងនេះត្រឹមអ្នកប្រមូលពាក្យខ្ញុំនឹងអ្នកសាងសង់ត្រៀមរួចរាល់ត្រៀមរួចរាល់
ចាអ្នកប្រមាណ
ពាក្យបញ្ជាប្រមាណត្រៀមរួចរាល់អ្នកជីភ្លេងអ្នកប្រមាណអ្នកកាប់
ពាក្យបញ្ បញ្ជាប្រមាណ
អេសួស្ដី
ត្រៀមរួច
ពាក្យ
រា
បា
ល់
នជីញាក់ប្រមាណអេស៊ូស
ចា
ចា
ខ្ញុំ
អូខេ
នឹងធ្វើវា
អ្នកសាងសង់
បាទញាក់ប្រមាណត្រៀមរួចរាល់ញាក់សាំងសង
ពា
បា
ក្
ទ
យបញ្ជា
អេ
ត្រៀម
ពាក្យ
រួច
បា
រាល់
នជី
ចាអ្នកប្រមូលពាក្យបញ្ជា
ចា
អូខេចា
ខ្ញុំ
ចា
ត្រឹម
អូ
ត្រូវ
ខេអ្នកសាងសង់ប្រមាណ
Dean Roger.
Now beat you back to Age of Empires.
ពាក្យបានជី
Yes. Start the game already.
បាទ
អេសួស្ដី
អេស៊ូសទេញាក់ប្រមាណ
ពាក្យបញ្ជាអ្នកសាងសង់
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់បានជីបាទញាក់ប្រមាណអេញាក់ត្រៀមរួចរាល់អេស៊ូសទេ
ត្រៀម
ខ្ញុំ
រួច
នឹង
រា
ធ្វើ
ល់
វា
អ្នកសាងស
អ្នក
ង់
ជីករ៉ែ
ពាក្យបានញាក់ប្រមាណ
ចា
បាទញាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបានជីអេស៊ូសញាក់កាប់អอก
ពាក្យបញ្ជា
ចា
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់ញាក់សាំងសងញាក់ប្រមាណ
អេសួស្ដី
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់ពាក្យបញ្ជា
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់ញាក់កាប់អอกបាទញាក់ប្រមាណអេស៊ូសទេញាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបានជីញាក់ប្រមាណ
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់អ្នកសាងសង់
ចាអេ
អ្នកសាងសង់ត្រៀម
ចាអេ
ពាក្យ
សួស្ដី
បញ្ជា
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់
ត្រៀមរួច
ខ្ញុំ
រាល់
លេងបាញ់ត្រាញាក់សាំងសងបាទពាក្យបានជីអេបានជីទេបាទញាក់សាំងសងត្រៀមរួចរាល់ញាក់ប្រមាណអេស៊ូសទេ
Yes.
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់បាទបានជី
ចា
បាទអេស៊ូសទេត្រៀមរួចរាល់ញាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបានជីញាក់ប្រមាណអេស៊ូសទេត្រៀមបាទបានជីបាទពាក្យបានជីញាក់ប្រមាណញាក់សាំងសងខ្ញុំនឹងទៅអេស៊ូសញាក់ប្រមាណត្រៀមរួចញាក់កាប់អอกពាក្យបានជីបាទញាក់សាំងសងត្រៀមរួចរាល់អេស៊ូសទេត្រៀមរួចរាល់អេស៊ូសទេបាទពាក្យបានជីបាទ Green Rouge Roll เปียกปันจีញ៉ាក់សាំងសងអេស៊ូសទេញ៉ាក់ប្រូម៉ាន់ពាក្យបញ្ជីញ៉ាក់ប្រូម៉ាន់ញ៉ាក់ប្រូម៉ាន់ Green Rouge ញ៉ាក់ប្រូម៉ាន់បាទ Trim Drop ញ៉ាក់កាប់អ
អេ
ពា
សុ
ក្យ
ស្
បញ្
ដី
ជាក់ប្រមូល
អេស៊ូសទេបាទអេស៊ូសទេពាក្យបញ្ជី Green Rouge Roll ញ៉ាក់សាំងសងបាទញ៉ាក់សាំងសង
ត្រៀមរួចរាល់
ចា
អ្នកជីករ៉ែ
អេស៊ូសទេ
អេសុស្ដី
ត្រៀមរួចប្រមូល
ពាក្យបញ្ជី Green Rouge Roll ទេភ្លេងញ៉ាក់ជីជ្រេពាក្យបញ្ជីបាទ
ចា
Green Rouge Roll បាទខ្ញុំញ៉ាក់កាប់ញ៉ាក់ជីជ្រេញ៉ាក់កាប់ពាក្យបញ្ជីភ្លេងញ៉ាក់ប្រមូលអេស៊ូសទេ
Start the game already!
បាទញ៉ាក់ Green Rouge Roll អេស៊ូសទេបាទខ្ញុំនឹងទៅ Green Rouge Roll ញ៉ាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបញ្ជីភ្លេងញ៉ាក់សាំងសងបាទញ៉ាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបញ្ជី
អេសុស្ដី
Green Rouge Roll ញ៉ាក់សាំងសងបាទ Green Rouge Roll ខ្ញុំនឹងញ៉ាក់សាំងសង
អេសុ
អ្នក
ស្ដី
សាងសង់ជីករ៉ែ
អេញ៉ាក់សាំងសងពាក្យបញ្ជី Green Rouge Roll ខ្ញុំលេងភ្លេងបាទ Trim Drop ពាក្យបញ្ជីញ៉ាក់សាំងសងនង Trim អត់មកជីចា
ពាក្យបញ្ជាអ្នកសាងសង់
អេញ៉ាក់កាប់អស់ nhạc chỉ chế Green Rouge Roll nhạc sáng soi Blim trim Blim Ahmad Blim Ba nhạc sang song
เตรียมรัวจรวดสร้างสอง
Green Rouge Roll ba Biết bài chỉ Green Rouge nhạc sang song Blim trim chi cha Blim trim No bomba, blim Ahmad Ba, blim No bomba, Ahmad trim Green Rouge Roll Trong linh nhạc sang song Blim Ahmad Ba Trong ba Trim Ahmad Biết bản chí nhạc sang song No bomba Atma Nóng blim chi cha Blim Nóng nhắm Trong linh ba nhạc sang song Biết bản chí No bomba Atma Biết bản chí nhạc sang song Nóng nhắm Blim trim Atma nâng mi mum từ No bomba Trim Atma nâng mi mum Green Rouge Roll Blim nhạc sang song Blim Ahmad trim Blim Nóng nhắm Ahmad No Blim trim Nóng nhắm chi cha Jesus ba trong blim trong nhạc sang song và trong linh và nhạc chủ trò trim trim trao Atman plim Atman nong trim chi cha trong linh trim trao trong linh bia bản chí
បញ្ជាអ្នកសាងសង់
អេសួស្ដី
អ្នកសាងសង់
ចា
ចាត្រឹមត្រូវអ្នកសាងសង់អ្នកសាងសង់
Trim Rouge Roll Plim Atman
ចា
អូខេត្រឹមត្រូវអ្នកជីករ៉ែអ្នកកាប់អុក
và nhạc cặp ỏ nhạc sáng sóng Trim Rouge Roll nhạc sáng sóng
អ្នកសាងសង់
អេសួស្ដី
អ្នកជីករ៉ែពាក្យបញ្ជា
Noble Trim Trao và trong linh nhạc sáng sóng và nhạc sáng sóng nóng nhạc mà trim cha
ត្រៀមជាវាអ្នកសាងសង់អ្នកជីករ៉ែ
biết trong blim trong lưng và blim trò nhạc sáng sóng Noble Trim Atman muốn từ Atman Jesus Day biết
អ្នកសាងអ្នកសាងសង់ អ្នកជួសជុល
trong linh
Prêt. Oil. Libert. Oil. Libet. Kei. Oil. Libet. Vera. Vera. Libet. Oert. Oil. Libet. Libet. Pastissor. Café. Pastissor. Ohé. Kate. Café. Prêt.
Minéo.
Kate. Prêt. Maro.
Prêt.
Ohé.
Keye.
Café. Prêt. Kate. Chasseur. Chasseur. Chasseur.
Café. Derac. Livé. Derac. Prêt. Ohé. Oil. Pastissor. Keye.
Café.
Prêt.
Prêt. Ohé. Pirax. Chasseur.
Café. Derac. Livé. Ohé. Sec. Prêt. Livé. Derax. Oil. Livé.
Café.
Keye. Derax. Chasseur. Ohé. Bûcheron. Café. Oil. Pastissor.
Kate. Chasseur. Prêt. Chasseur. Kate. Café. Chasseur. Ohé. Libère. Oil. Certes. Oil. Libère. Libère. Chasseur. Chasseur. Kate. Chasseur. Chasseur.
Ohé. Derac. Livé. Livé. Café.
Café. Prêt. Ohé. Chasseur. Chasseur. Chasseur.
Keye. Oil.
Kate.
Prêt. Livé. Derax. Livé. Oil. Certes. Café. Derac. Livé. Oil. Ohé. Derac. Oil. Derax. Livé. Livé. Derac. Livé. Derac. Oil.
Café. Prêt.
Prêt. Oil. Pastissor.
Ohé.
Kayé, Sef, Livé, Verax.
Yes.
Kayé, Café, Bûcheron. Prêt, Livé. Café. Prêt, Verax. Oil.
Oé. Pré. Verax. Oil. Libé. Libé. Kay. Verax. Oil. Libé. Pré. Minéo.
Oé.
Kay. Oil.
Kayé, Verax. Oil, 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 Oil.
Oé. Verax. Libé. Oil. Verax.
Sef, Livé, Sef, Livé, Oil, Verax, Sef, Livé.
Féfé. Libé. Verax. Pastissor. Kay. Minéo.
Prêt, Sef, Livé.
Pré. Pastissor. Maro.
Kayé, Verax. Café. Prêt, Livé, Sef, Livé, Verax, Verax, Livé, Sef. Kayé, Livé.
Oé. Féfé. Bûcheron. Pré. Oil. Pastissor. 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 Kay. Bûcheron. Oé. Libé. Pastissor. Pastissor. Pastissor.
Oé. Pastissor. Café. Verax, Sef, Verax. Kayé. Livé, Verax, Sef, Livé. Oil, Verax, Livé. Verax, Oil, Livé. Sef, Verax, Livé. Oil, Verax, Oil, Sef, Livé.
Féfé. Vilain. Maro. Pastissor. Certes. Pastissor. Bûcheron.
Oé. Sef, Pastissor.
Oé.
Café. Prêt. Pastissor. Kayé.
Pré. Libé. Oil. Certes. Pastissor.
Verax, Livé, Verax, Livé. Oil, Verax, Sef, Livé. Pastissor. Pastissor.
Kay. Bûcheron. Pastissor. Pastissor.
Café. Verax, Livé, Verax. Livé. Oil. Sef. Prêt. Kayé. Verax, Oil. Pastissor. Oé. Verax, Sef.
No.
Prêt. Livé. Oil. Café. Kayé.
Féfé. Bûcheron.
Prêt. Oé. Verax, Oil, Verax. Oil. Café. Sef. Pastissor. Pastissor. Kayé. Bûcheron. Pastissor. Prêt. Livé. Pastissor. Verax.
Pré. Libé. Oil. Kay.
Oil.
Oé. Verax. Féfé.
Kayé. Café. Prêt. Verax.
Kay. Pré. Oé. Libé.
Oé.
Féfé. Oil. Pré. Oé. Libé. Verax. Kay. Oil. Libé. Féfé.
Café. Kayé.
Féfé. Oil. Libé. Verax.
Oé. Sef. Livé.
Kay. Oil. Pré. Oé.
Kayé. Oil. Prêt.
Pré. Féfé. Libé. Kay. Libé. Pré. Libé. Oil. Kay. Oil. Oé. Féfé. Verax.
Verax. Sef. Oé. Livé. Livé. Sef.
Pré.
Kayé. Livé. Prêt. Sef. Verax. Sef. Livé. Café. Verax. Livé. Oil. Verax.
Kay. Verax. Féfé. Oé.
Prêt. Sef. Livé. Verax. Oil. Kayé.
Pré.
Sef. Oé. Kayé. Oé.
Féfé. Libé. Verax.
Kayé. Café. Sef. Verax.
Oé. Pré. Libé. Verax. Féfé. Kay. Oé. Verax. Pré. Oé. Kay. Pré. Libé. Féfé. Oé. Bûcheron. Oil. Kay. Oil. Féfé. Kay. Oil. Oé.
Kayé. Oé. Bûcheron.
Kay. Libé. Oil. Verax. Pré. Libé. Libé. Certes. Oé. Féfé. Oil. Kay, prêt, fait, vilain,
Prêt, vilain. Voyez, Verax, c'est.
Kefé, Liberax, Oé, Verax, Kay, vilain, prêt, Libel,
Voyez,
Oé, Liberax, Kefé, Kay, Kefé, prêt, Libel, Kay, Oé,
Voyez, c'est. Que fait?
Oé, Kay, Oil, Oé, Verax,
Prêt, voyez, Verax.
Kay, Oil, certes, Kefé, Verax, prêt, Liber, Oil, certes, Liber,
Voyez, Verax.
Kay, Pastisor, prêt, Pastisor,
Que fait? Voyez, Verax.
Oé, Kefé, Oé,
Prêt, Verax. Livé.
Kefé,
Que fait? Assisto.
prêt, Kay,
Prêt. Voyez, que fait? Voyez, voyez.
Oé, Kefé, Verax, certes, Kay, Liber, certes, prêt, Oil, Kay, Verax, prêt, vilain,
Verax, voyez, 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 Livé.
Kefé, Liber, Oé, Kay, prêt,
Prêt. Voyez,
Kefé,
Verax. Prêt,
Kay,
prêt, voyez, voyez. Voyez,
prêt, Liber, Liber, certes,
voyez,
Oé, Liber, Liber,
Verax.
Kefé, Kefé, Kay, Pastisor,
Que fait? C'est, voyez, Assisto. Minéo.
Oé,
Prêt.
Kefé, Oé, prêt,
C'est. Voyez, Verax. Voyez. Que fait? Verax. Voyez. Livé. Prêt. Verax. Assisto.
Kay, bûcheron, Oé, vilain, Liber, Pastisor,
Que fait? Prêt. Voyez, livé. Voyez, Verax. Assisto.
Yes.
prêt, Pastisor, Kay, bûcheron, Pastisor,
Voyez. Livé. Verax. Livé. Assisto.
Kay, prêt, certes, Minerax, Pastisor, Kay, Pastisor, Kefé, bûcheron, prêt, Pastisor, Oé, Minéor, Kefé, certes, Pastisor,
Prêt. Voyez, voyez. Assisto. Assisto. Voyez. Assisto. Que fait? Assisto. Prêt. Assisto. Livé. Voyez. Verax. Voyez. Verax. Voyez. C'est livé. Assisto. Que fait? Assisto. Prêt. Assisto.
Kay, Pastisor,
Que fait? Minéo.
Oé, Minéor, prêt,
Oil, livré.
C'est fait. Bastisseur.
Prêt, Bérac. C'est, oil, livré. Bastisseur, bastisseur. Qu'est-ce bastisseur. Que fait? Bastisseur.
Ohé. Bastisseur.
Prêt. Ohé. Qu'est-ce? Bérac. C'est, oil. Que fait? Livré. Bérac. Oil, c'est Bérac. Oil. Bastisseur. Bastisseur. Prêt. Qu'est-ce? Bastisseur. Que fait? Livré. Prêt. Bastisseur.
Kay. Mineo. Bastisseur.
Que fait? Ohé. Qu'est-ce?
Qu'est fait?
Prêt. Oil. Bérac. Bastisseur. Ohé. Qu'est-ce? Bastisseur. Bastisseur.
Prêt. Kay. Bérac. Bûcheron.
Que fait? Bûcheron.
Ohé.
Bûcheron. Oil. Bastisseur. Ohé.
Prêt. Bastisseur. Ohé. Qu'est fait? Kay.
Que fait? Prêt. Qu'est-ce? Mineo. Bérac. Oil. Livré. Bastisseur.
Qu'est fait? Bastisseur.
Prêt. Bastisseur.
Que fait?
Ohé.
Barreau.
Prêt. Bastisseur.
Que fait? Qu'est-ce? Bastisseur. Que fait? C'est Mineo. Bûcheron. Bérac. C'est livré. C'est Bérac. Livré. Bastisseur.
Livré.
Ohé. Bastisseur.
Ohé. Vilain. Marmot. Bûcheron. Kay. Ohé. Vilain. Marmot. Qu'est fait? Bastisseur. Prêt. Bastisseur. Kay. Bastisseur. Prêt. Kay. Qu'est fait?
Oya. Prêt. Livré. Livré.
Ohé. Bastisseur.
Qu'est-ce? Bastisseur. Prêt. C'est réel. Bastisseur. Gayet.
Kay, Libet. Pastissor, Pastissor.
Que fait?
Ohé. Oyel. Gayet. Serac. Oyel. Verax. Bastissor.
Que fait?
Oé, Bûcheron, Oil, Libet, Pastissor.
Que fait? Bastissor. Prêt. Gayet. Oyel. Verax.
Que fait?
Oyel. Sef. Oyel. Bastissor.
Prêt. Effet,
Prêt. Bûcheron. Que fait? Bastissor. Gayet. Bastissor.
Kay, Pastissor.
Bastissor. Prêt. Barreau. Que fait? Barreau. Ohé. Barreau. Verax. Sef. Verax. Prêt. Vilain. Sef. Verax. Gayet.
Prêt, Rax, Pastissor.
Que fait? Minéo.
Que fait? Razon. Prêt. Que fait? Bataille. Razon.
Verax. Sef.
Prêt. Que fait? Prêt.
Prêt. Bûcheron. Que fait?
Libet. Que fait?
Pastissor, 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 Oé, Pastissor.
Gayet.
Alright, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another TV in for review. This is the Sony 48-inch A9S OLED television set. The word is this is basically kind of like a small version of the TV that I have in my lobby, the A9G, just shrunken down. So we're gonna get this out of the box, we're gonna get it set up, play some Xbox on it probably, and then we'll give you some thoughts and impressions in the full review. So what we're gonna do first is get it from the top. You know, I think this is gonna be a pretty popular TV set because of the size. For me personally, I think I would have loved to have a smaller OLED set, but everything's been kind of relegated to like 55 inches and up. But this one I was thinking of maybe keeping it in my office for like a monitor for my computer. Or if I'm doing like a podcast, have it on the far wall so I can see myself and the guests and stuff like that. But inside here we have a bunch of panel covers for the back, which is going to cover up the wires, your HDMI and all that stuff, so you don't get to see that hanging out back there. Not that you're going to be looking at the back of your TV anyways. Got the setup guide. Got some manuals and the remote control. This is the same one that comes with the A9G. And they only have the little bracket base. It's pounds. Solid like a rock. Very light. Just gonna leave this right over here. So I guess we have management here. Little holes there. On there. It just locks on. Then if you look on the other side here, you'll see the little. There we go. So the brackets just go right to those little slots there. Alright, so that's pretty simple. Alright, so for connections we got your regular cable input, 2, 3 HDMI ins right here, ARC. Now on this side here, 2 more. We've got a headphone out, jack, video in, and then external IR. All that. The acoustic surface, how good it actually does sound. Dolby Vision of the coming in after, and that's without.
Though, because in the menu box, and we were looking in the Xbox, we're looking for the setting that allows this stuff to turn green, but we can't find it. All right, so we hit find it there, especially with that Wi-Fi thing on it. Okay, 60. What we and the HDMI settings, which were hard to find by the way, and in 4K. And even in the Xbox One menu, it said that, you know, oh, your TV doesn't support all these different modes. The whole thing about 4K on Xbox when you're buying a new TV is you want it to be all green. We weren't getting that. We activated the enhanced signal thing that gives you 444 color sampling, 4K 60 Hz, lag factor. Feels right. Pretty low. Lag 11 milliseconds, so anything before 15 milliseconds. Yeah, 8 is pretty low. On this size panel with this quality and this sound quality as well, you can't go wrong with this. How much is this? Like 1900? I mean, the LG CX is like 15, so I don't know. There's some other features that this has, like the Netflix calibrated mode and all that stuff, but we're not getting into brand wars and we're not getting into any other features. We just want to know about the gaming aspects of it. And
right guys, so that's our quick thoughts. Well, Elias's quick thoughts. Make sure you guys stick around for the full, especially for the small size, which I think is key for this particular model. You want to use it as a desktop monitor, as a monitor for your kids, TV for your kids. I think it's a great size for those people that want to get into getting a nice quality.
Down to watching TV. Out of the box for
call it CA.
multiple guns on foot. Hold up, let him approach. Light him up. I do like showing the beginning part of this level as a... We'll redo this particular demo and film it for you. We are kicking off the... Get close to the fire here.
For me, a home office 4K 120Hz support, G-Sync, FreeSync support, low input lag, and HDR. This display is as good as it gets for gaming on the upcoming PS5 and Xbox consoles, and it's even small enough to use as a PC monitor for casual everyday use. Hi, I'm David, and this is the LG C10 48-inch TV, the ultimate small TV, big gaming monitor for the home office. So just a disclaimer, LG sent me this TV to test, and I've been using it over 2 weeks now as my main display across a variety of use cases. I'll start with my experiences using it for watching videos and movies, but you can also skip ahead using the timestamps in the description. And no surprises here, the image quality of OLED lives up to expectations. Vibrant colors and bright highlights when watching standard def or HDR content, wide viewing angles, so even if you're viewing off-axis, the image still looks really good. Playing 4K content over the built-in apps like YouTube and Plex, or external devices connected via HDMI look super crisp. But the biggest benefit to this OLED panel is thanks to those self-lit pixels, meaning perfect blacks, no distracting blooming or halo effects, which can commonly be noticed when watching more dark space and star-type scenes on other displays. The other feature that movie watchers may enjoy with this TV is the updated Alpha 9 processor, which is supposed to help with improving the picture with color processing, sharpening, and smoothing algorithms. I'll be honest, I don't really like those features. What I do like is that I can easily turn off all that stuff by choosing the filmmaker mode picture profile. This is essentially like going into all those menus and turning off all those enhancements that can make a movie look a little artificial, but it's quick and easy. If you do want to dive deeper into tweaking the advanced settings, I'll link to a couple of resources on that from HD TV Test and ratings in the description. Next, let's talk about console gaming, and this is where it starts to get really exciting with this TV, but at the same time, it's a little wait and see. I'm waiting for the next generation PS5 and Xbox Series X coming out later this year, but until those are available, we can't fully test and take advantage of those capabilities that this TV has to offer. But spec-wise, this LG C10 is stacked to be the dream gaming display. HDMI 2.1 with support for 4K, 120Hz refresh rate at 10-bit, and supporting variable refresh rate as well for smooth tear-free gaming. I'm hoping the next generation consoles take full advantage of all of this for the cleanest, smoothest gaming console experience. But even if you're just gaming on a current gen console, gaming still looks great. And input lag feels really low regardless of resolution, refresh rate, or HDR setting you use. You just need to make sure you're using the game picture profile for minimal input lag. There are also some other tidbits that I want to highlight about this TV that I really like, such as the 4 HDMI inputs. All of them have the same full support for HDMI 2.1 40 gigabits per second, which is great, especially with all the devices in the near future that will take advantage of that. The built-in speakers are also another high point. I think especially for this target market of users needing a small TV, space for dedicated speakers isn't always going to be an option. While they don't have good low-end bass and they aren't going to replace a full home theater speaker setup, compared to small computer speakers, I think they're decent enough to use in place of those, and you can always use a pair of headphones when you need to be a little more critical. In terms of physical design, I like the simple design of the stand, and it has a nice thin bezel, so overall it has a clean, minimal look. And I can't forget to mention the price. At $1,500, it's not cheap, but there's nothing else in the market that compares to this with its OLED panel and HDMI 2.1 support for gamers at this size. And that's the other big news here. Being 48 inches, this is the smallest TV in the market with all these premium features. While that sounds a bit weird with TVs getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, I like having a big screen TV for my main home theater, but not everyone has the room for such a large TV in their place. And for places like my bedroom or office, a smaller 48-inch TV works out to be a great size to use at these distances like 6 or 7 feet and still feel very immersive. But what I'm most excited about with this smaller TV is that it's getting to a size to replace and be my main PC monitor. All those same features I mentioned earlier that make this great for movies and console gaming, I also want on my PC setup. So is 48 inches too big to use as a PC monitor? And that really depends on how far away you're sitting from it. I had to switch back to my IKEA Gerten tabletop that has a longer depth of 75 centimeters for better comfort. Also, keep in mind that the TV and stand does protrude out back a little over 20 centimeters, so that eats up a lot of desk space as well. You can also put it on a monitor arm, which will allow you to customize the height and tilt, but it will still stick out forward just as much as the original stand. In my normal sitting position, seat up, tucked in, and arms on the desk, my eyes are about 60 centimeters away, which I find is a little too close, and sharpness definitely takes a hit with the low 92 pixels per inch of the screen. Pulling the keyboard to the edge and leaning the chair back to where my eyes are around 80 or 85 centimeters away feels more like an ideal distance for me to target. So I think a wall mount would probably work best for most people. But regardless, in this current setup, it's still comfortable and usable on a daily basis. But I'd be all for a 43 or 40-inch side screen if it were available instead. Keep in mind that's me using it with applications tiled across the screen to multitask, which is great for people like me who have multiple windows open at the same time. But if you want to just full screen a single application, I think it's too big to run anything in dedicated full screen and hunt your eyes all over the display. If you do decide to use it as a monitor, when you first plug in the TV to your PC, you're going to want to switch it to PC mode. It's not the easiest setting to find. You first go into Input, then Home Dashboard, the Settings icon in Edit, click on the icon next to the input you're using, and then select PC mode and save. Choosing this feature does two very important things. One, it puts it into its low input lag setting, similar to choosing the game picture profile. This means you can switch between any of the picture profiles while in PC mode and still stay super responsive. And two, I believe it removes some chroma subsampling blurriness, so choosing this setting will help with sharpness of text. The other settings I like to change are more personal preference. I'll switch to one of the more neutral picture profiles like ISF Expert Dark. I'll turn off the energy saving and reduce the OLED light down to around 40 or lower in a dark room. For PC gaming with a mouse and keyboard, again I find it way too big to be this close up, especially for fast-paced shooters. You can play unscaled or in windowed mode, which actually works quite well when supported and if you're okay with the lower resolutions, but when possible, I'd rather plug in a controller to my PC and push back a couple feet for a more comfortable gaming experience and take advantage of the full screen. But based on my limited experience PC gaming on this screen, I think it looks great. Again, this TV is ahead of its time, and I'm waiting to purchase the next generation GPUs to take advantage of that full 4K and 120Hz 444 experience. But for now, on my 1080 Ti, I can choose between 4K 60Hz or my preferred 1440p 120Hz for smoother gameplay. This TV also supports G-Sync on NVIDIA cards and FreeSync on AMD cards for variable frame rate support to eliminate screen tearing. My NVIDIA GPU doesn't support G-Sync over HDMI, which is only available on the latest GPUs, so I didn't get to test those features out. And finally there's BFI, black frame insertion. You can find the setting under the TrueMotion User OLED Motion Pro setting. This can help improve motion clarity for fast-paced games, but keep in mind it does add flickering, so it's best used at 120 Hz, and it will lower the overall picture brightness. But it's a nice feature to test for yourself. So overall, PC gaming, just like console gaming, is really nice on this display, but I'm waiting on the next-gen GPUs to take full advantage of it. There are some minor limitations that are important to consider if you're using this as your main monitor. And you can't talk about OLED TVs without mentioning burn-in. I've only had the TV for 2 weeks now, so I can't really say how much of an issue it will be using as a PC display. The TV does have some built-in burn-in protection features like pixel shift, which will shift the entire screen once in a while, and logo luminance adjustment that will sometimes dim regions of the screen that it detects as a static logo. But regardless, I'd still recommend taking some basic precautions like using a dark color theme, hiding desktop icons, hiding the taskbar, and using a screensaver. I've also noticed some minor color fringing, which is most noticeable around solid yellow objects. For example, highlighted text in Microsoft Word will have red and green borders on the left and right edges. I ran some custom test patterns and captured an up-close shot of the pixels just to be sure it wasn't an optical illusion. And compared to my 43-inch IPS TV, you can clearly see the fringing is much more noticeable on the LG OLED. To be clear, while watching movies or playing games, which is what this TV is specifically designed for, I don't think anyone will ever notice. It's only noticeable up close while using it as a PC monitor, and even then, it's limited to certain solid color objects, and is pretty minor being just 1 pixel wide. But if you're working on more color critical work, it is something to consider. This TV also has an auto dimmer when the screen is static, which you can't turn off. This is different from the logo luminance adjustment option in the menu. Basically, the entire screen will dim after around 3 or 4 minutes of idle, which makes sense to prevent burn-in. But for static tasks like typing a Word document or even just moving your mouse around is also considered static and will trigger this feature. So once in a while, I'll need to wake up the screen by moving some windows, or more easily, just double pressing the Windows tab keys to wake it back up. In conclusion, this is a great premium TV that's uniquely small at 48 inches, which is great for those with small spaces. For movie watchers, you get those perfect blacks with OLED, and for gamers, you get low input lag and support for HDMI 2.1 features like 4K 120Hz and VRR on next-gen consoles. While it's not perfect as a PC monitor, still being a little bigger than I'd wish, and the burn-in protection features can be noticeable during static tasks like word processing and Excel, but if you need a single display to do it all, and big screen gaming and movies are your priorities, this is as good as it gets in my opinion. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video.
I'm actually super excited about this video. I mean, it's all fine and good to be checking out the latest like $5,000 BFGD or, you know, $5,000 OLED displays, but that's not what most people are actually buying. So James here.
Went online and got some of the most popular displays or TVs that you can get that are 4K under $400.
Let's try that one more time. All 4K, under $400, anywhere from around 50 inches to...
I think from 49 to 55.
Sweet. So we're gonna let you guys know which ones are the best in terms of the color reproduction, viewing angles, interface, and features, and we're gonna do it all in the next 8 to 9 minutes.
That's what you know. What Linus doesn't know is that there's a game mechanic built onto this.
Oh, really?
So as you can see, each one of these TVs, do not touch that, has a concealed message in front of it, corresponding to one of these prices.
Oh, so I have to decide which one is which?
Yes, that's right. You're gonna look at each of these TVs, and then you're gonna tape one of these prices to each one.
Wow, one of them is 220 bucks? I'm looking forward to this.
But that's not all. There's stakes.
Sorry, what?
If you get them all right, you get to enjoy a bowl of your favorite cereal, Cranberry Almond Crunch.
Okay, I like Cranberry Almond Crunch.
And you have to agree to this. Agree right now.
Okay, sure. Anything to make the content better.
If you don't get them all right, you have to endure a nice big bite of durian.
I knew this was coming. I knew it was going to be a durian.
I talked to his wife.
And this video is brought to you guys by Honey. No matter what you're shopping for, whether it's a value TV or whatever else, use Honey. It's the free browser extension that applies the best promo codes on popular sites like Best Buy, Amazon, Razer, and more. Just go to joinhoney.com/Linus. We're gonna have that.
For me, a home office isn't just a place where I work, but of mixed usages, from studying, relaxing to some video.
No wonder we wanted OLEDs on gaming monitors ages ago. I've been bugging LG about this for years. Of course, that's not to say that OLED has every advantage when it comes to gaming these days. LCD displays can go up to 240 or even 360 hertz. And what we can see when we look at our 3000 frame per second footage here is that when our LCD is getting these much more rapid updates, the motion actually does appear smoother, even though the image might not be quite as sharp. Let's step all the way up to 360 hertz, and we can see that the effect is much more pronounced. That ends up looking smoother overall than this. And of course, there's the elephant in the room, burn-in. Now, I'm not gonna try and scare you, but I'm also not gonna try and reassure you. There are mitigation strategies that panel manufacturers are using. For example, shifting the pixels ever so suddenly, running a kind of refresher on the display that helps to clean it up, dimming static objects on the screen, that's something that you can adjust to be more or less aggressive, and of course, just not running your display at full brightness. That's like half the battle right there. The brighter you run it, the faster the pixels will degrade. But in spite of all that, you probably will experience some burn-in under some use case scenarios. So go check out the comprehensive video that Artings did on the subject, where they actually ran a bunch of OLEDs for like, what, a year? Something like that, to see how it affected them. And then you can make your own decision. Of course, pixel response times are just one part of a smooth and responsive gaming experience. Equally, or maybe even more important, is the input lag of the display. So that's how long it takes to receive the signal from your PC or console or whatever else and actually output it to the panel. And for years, TVs had very poor input lag compared to monitors. How does this one stack up? Actually, great. Basically, it's imperceptible to me, and what helps is that it has an auto low latency mode that detects when it's It feels great, and it's aided by its auto low latency mode, an HDMI 2.1 feature that detects when a gaming source, like an Xbox or a PC, is connected and flips it over to low latency mode. Of course, that raises the question, why did TVs have bad input lag in the first place? Wouldn't they want it to be good? Well, it's because TVs do far more processing on the image than the typical monitor would, and that's because TV manufacturers were more concerned with the cinematic experience than the gaming one. And we did notice that flipped into any display mode other than game mode, yeah, it ain't as good. It's a little mushier feeling, for sure. Another benefit of an OLED TV compared to an LCD monitor is that you can make certain assumptions about how HDR will be implemented and how good the experience will be. With an LCD, you pretty much have to have multiple backlight zones in order to achieve a With an LCD, you pretty much have to have multiple backlighting zones in order to achieve a convincing HDR effect. So with an OLED, well, at 4K anyway, it's kind of like having 12 million backlighting zones. Of course, first and third person games aren't the only ones that can benefit from a large, immersive display. RTS players are able to take advantage of being able to see much more of the map at one time, assuming, of course, that the game developer properly implements higher zoom levels and that you've got a PC that can handle that, and of course that you don't mind actually physically turning your head in order to see the UI elements. So okay, the ergonomics of a solution like this, they're not perfect, but at least they're making progress. I mean, one thing that really stands out as in need of improvement for this one is LG's kind of like buttock hump that they've got coming off of the back of the TV. LG's buttock hump back here is actually the reason that even though my desk is deep enough, I had to sit closer to the TV in order to reach my keyboard and mouse than the retina distance. I/O is another thing TVs have traditionally done better than monitors. We've got 4 HDMI ports, all of which, just have a look here, yep, support 4K at up to 120 hertz. And even though there was that whole scandal with LG's C9s supporting 48 gigabit per second HDMI and the C10s dropping that to 40, it looks like the bug that they had where there was chroma subsampling at 4K 120 on these C10s has been dealt with in a patch, and you're able to get 444, so that's HDR 10-bit at 120 Hz 4K now. That means that if you wanted to hook up a next-gen console as well as your PC, you'd be able to enjoy the full 4K 120 Hz experience that you'll be able to get in select titles. Make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss our video where we're going to be checking out next-gen Xbox Series games on the LG C10. The last question to answer then, assuming that you don't mind the ergonomic challenges of having a TV on your desk or mounted to the wall behind it, is one of value. At around $1,500 US, it's priced right up there with the top-tier ultra-wide and large format gaming displays, and it does have some inconveniences compared to a traditional monitor. One being that game mode just plain ain't as color accurate as filmmaker mode, even here on the same display. So if you wanted to use it for something other than gaming, like say for example photo or video editing, you'd have to choose between a more responsive experience with your mouse not kind of feeling like it's floating around behind your arm actions, or having color accuracy. The only question left for me to answer then is, do I swap out the 38-inch ultra-wide that's on my desk now with one of these? I've heard the argument made that you could just take a regular 16:9 format display, and if you want the ultra-wide experience, well, just set a custom resolution and have black bars at the top and the bottom. Why not? And especially with an OLED, you don't get that annoying glow that you would with an LCD, so that use case actually kind of sounds viable. And the pricing is actually better than the monitor. Gonna have to think about it. The YubiKey acts as a physical two-factor authentication device for hundreds of services like Gmail, YouTube, Twitter, Dropbox, password managers, the key, and that's that one. Key 5 any purchase at the link below. It's running a selection of backwards compatible titles. Get up a notch, view cinematic this close to it, and this is the in the center. Distance from the screen itself is about 20 inches. Distance from the corner, if I was to read the text on recycle bin, 29 inches. So if I'm looking over there, it's Retina. If I'm looking here, it's not quite, I guess. This was one of the bigger issues with those older low resolution displays. While you could make up some of the low pixel density with, anti-aliasing or, squinting a little bit, if you were trying to read text and use it for actual productivity, it was unbearable. This, on the other hand, looks great. I mean, I daily drove a 1440p 27-inch class display until not that long ago, and I've always felt that that was my good enough point, and this is better than that. Of course, one of the advantages that monitors have enjoyed until recently is higher refresh rate support due to the superior with the 100 a high-speed fast IPS OLED on the left, IPS on the right. Here's the start of the transition. It is complete in 3 to 4 frames. The first thing that happens is this leading edge dark spot actually disappears. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? When is it actually done? 2 to 3 milliseconds. What's cool second between transition, our 3000 frame per second footage here, is that when our LCD is getting these much more rapid updates, the motion actually does appear smoother, even though the image might not be quite as sharp. Let's step all the way up to 360 Hertz, and we can see that the effect is much more pronounced. That ends up looking smoother overall than this. And of course, there's the elephant in the room, burn-in. Now, I'm not gonna try and scare you, but I'm also not gonna try and reassure you. There are mitigation strategies that panel manufacturers are using. For example, shifting the pixels ever so suddenly, running a kind of refresher on the display that helps to clean it up, dimming static objects on the screen, that's something that you can adjust to be more or less aggressive, and of course, just not running your display at full brightness. That's like half the battle right there. The brighter you run it, the faster the pixels will degrade. But in spite of all that, you probably will experience some burn-in under some use case scenarios. So go check out the comprehensive video that Artings did on the subject, where they actually ran a bunch of OLEDs for like, what, a year? Something like that, to see how it affected them. And then you can make your own decision. Of course, pixel response times are just one part of a smooth and responsive gaming experience. Equally, or maybe even more important, is the input lag of the display. So that's how long it takes to receive the signal from your PC or console or whatever else and actually output it to the panel. And for years, TVs had very poor input lag compared to monitors. How does this one stack up? Actually, great. Basically, it's imperceptible to me, and what helps is that it has an auto low latency mode that detects when it feels great, and it's aided by its auto low latency mode, an HDMI 2.1 feature that detects when a gaming source, like an Xbox or a PC, is connected and flips it over to low latency mode. Of course, that raises the question, why did TVs have bad input lag in the first place? Wouldn't they want it to be good? Well, it's because TVs do far more processing on the image than the typical monitor would, and that's because TV manufacturers were more concerned with the cinematic experience than the gaming one. And we did notice that flipped into any display mode other than game mode, yeah, it ain't as good.